Greetings and welcome to Africa Online Media Corporation. It is another Sunday. It is the second Sunday in the 11th month of the year 2024, and today is November the 10th. Sunday, November the 10th. Yes, we are on the 10th day of November. And how is it out there in your neighborhoods? Out here we have our temperatures currently are 58 degrees, that's upper 50s, and it's quite chilly out there, even though I was able to go out in my short sleeve shirt, but that was just very briefly. You're welcome to Africa Online Media Corporation, as we do every Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. local time here in the Washington metropolitan area. Here we go with our program. The topic, you might not have got it, but the topic is democracy. What is democracy? We'll be talking about that. So please zoom in and share your opinions. Tell us what you know and think about the phenomenon known as democracy. Is it a phenomenon? Is it a concept? Is it, well, do you have a concept about it? Or you have only concept? Do you have something else beyond what you know about democracy? Is your community or is your country democratic? Is the meeting in which is the group to which you belong democratic? How are decisions reached? Well, we'll get there, but for now, today is November the 10th day of the 11th month of the year, and the year is 2024. Today is the 315th day of that year 2024, and that is on the Gregorian and the Julian calendars. That leaves us now with just 51 days. Would you imagine? Just 51 days to the end of 2024. Start the countdown. It's not too late to start counting for up to 50 days. It's all right, 51 days to go. But it is not just November the 10th. Yeah, today is not just November the 10th. It is Forget-Me-Not Day. November the 10th, Forget-Me-Not Day. Well, maybe you're saying that to somebody dear to you, or you're just saying it for saying sake, because Forget-Me-Not, I know there's a flower also called Forget-Me-Not, but whatever it is, Forget-Me-Not. That is the day of today. And this day in history has certainly had its trials and tribulations, but it was also a day of invention and discovery. While we will not be talking inventions and or discoveries, we will recall that November the 10th comes before November the 11th. Yes, significant when we recall, as we always do, what has happened in history. Tomorrow is November 11, 11/11, the 11th day of the year, the 11th day of the 11th month. And many years back in 1914, at 11 a.m. on November 1914 rather, that was when the guns of hatred went silent. The guns of man's gamble for control of the world went silent. The First World War ended, and it became known as Armistice Day, November 11. That's tomorrow. It's Veterans Day in the United States of America. Whatever it is, please just remember to know that man's insanity kind of ended temporarily on November 11, 1914, but it will reoccur in 1939. Man's eagerness to control other people. So back in 1914 at 11 a.m. on 11/11, man's initial urge at insanity, the guns of man's gamble for control of the world, went silent, as we already said. World War I ended, and tomorrow, the 11th day of the 11th month, mankind recalls and remembers. As if that was not a stupid enough gamble, humanity was at it again from 1939 to 1945. As I already said, that was World War II, which was even more devastating. We are not yet there yet, but we will get some occasion to talk about that. But while the fact that these guns of conflict even fired at all, is humanity's insensitivity to the need for equity, equality, justice, and fairness. We will return to that momentarily, but first, let us look at some other daily happenings in history. It is, as we already said, Forget-Me-Not Day, but also it is International Accounting Day. International Accounting Day is celebrated on November 10 each year because an Italian accountant and mathematician called Luca Pacioli published his book on double entry bookkeeping in 1494. 1494, that's
wow.
ago. So this is considered the first full written account of double entry bookkeeping that changed the face of accounting, and it's still used today. Yes, accounting still used the way it was established at that time. Luca Pacioli is considered the founding father of accounting. International Accounting Day is celebrated on November 10 every year and serves as an opportunity to acknowledge the work accountants do to make businesses thrive, support the economy, and help people navigate the complexities of finances. Are you one of those people like myself? I don't know much about accounting, but all the same, if you can count your dollars, well and good. It is also Orphan Day. Yes, it is Orphan Sunday tomorrow actually, but today we can talk about it. So we'll just mention it and then we'll continue Orphan Day. Remember the orphans who are around you or who are in your neighborhood. And of course, it's also U.S. Marine Corps birthday. And it is also World Science Day for Peace and Development. Peace and development, we're talking, will prevail whether we like it or not, because we have uppermost our minds the need to have peace, the need to have love, and the need to have development. So peace and development prevail in an environment of equity, equality, justice, and fairness. Do we have that? In some parts of the world, yes. In others, well, people throw sand on the way and make it difficult. And that is where our topic of the day comes in: democracy. D-E-M-O-C-R-A-C-Y, democracy. What is it all about? And what does it mean to you as an individual, as a person, as a human being? What does it mean in your part of the world? What does it mean to the people of the world? Because we were created one, but we have become different kinds of people. Some are good, some are bad, some are in the middle, but we're not accusing anybody. Is democracy a concept? Is it an ideal to be jealously pursued and preserved? Or is just one of those things we talk about from Monday to Friday and then go back to Monday and continue? The Encyclopedia Britannica tells us that, quote, democracy literally means rule by the people. Yes, Abraham Lincoln said, government of the people, for the people, and by the people. The term is derived from the Greek demokratia, which was coined from demos, which means people, and kratos, which means rule, in the middle of the 5th century before Christ, which was, of course, one of those things that at that time was practiced in the little cities of ancient Greek, or ancient Greece, not Greek. Greek is the language, Greece is the country. So please, Athens was the main center of the democratic process that prevailed. We hear about it, we read about it. And growing up, we learned that democracy is government of the people, as I already said, for the people and by the people. We understand, therefore, that it is a government of and by the people. Yes, a popular government, therefore, which is supposed to be established at least to help guide the way that community or that country functions. It can be just your tribal meeting, 100 people or 10 people even. You have to practice some democratic processes to be able to have it going. In a 2018 article in Encyclopedia Britannica titled "The War on Democracy," former United States Secretary of State Madeleine Albright postulated that, quote, the most important development of the 20th century was the spread of democracy. The most important lesson that was that tide of freedom will always be opposed. Now and in the future, this warning should be on our minds because democracy is undergoing a new and rigorous round of tests. That was what the Secretary of State wrote at the time. So when the chips are down, what exactly do we understand by democracy? Let's turn to the chair of Africa Online Media Corporation, Her Royal Highness, Reverend Palm, to welcome us to the show and to let us know what she, in her own right, thinks about democracy. Is it just a concept? Is this just some idea floating out there? Is it suitable for all and every community? Is it something, is democracy something that is good for all cultures, good for all regions, and good for all peoples? That is where, for now, I rest my case, and I turn to Pam.
Niason, thank you so much. Please forget me not. You know, I didn't know there was a day dedicated to that. On behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, I really honestly want to appreciate you. I want to appreciate Dr. Gloria Crosslin, Sister Debbie McCormick, and all our viewers that are going to view this particular program is not being streamed live. It's being recorded, but it will be uploaded. So for those who are going to watch around the globe, the topic of democracy is very important. We are not looking at democracy to discuss politics. We're looking at it as a process. And my own understanding of democracy, I'm not a student of political science, is that it's a government by the people, you know, the will of the people, a government that operates based on the will of the people. And if you ask me, I don't think it's ideal for every society. And I really don't think there is any country that practices true democracy. The only one that comes close to it is the United States. There are different forms of democracies around the world. The US is known as the champion for it. But just like, you know, and I don't really want to go, you notice in the Bible, in the times of Jesus, the people chose Barabbas over Jesus. So sometimes democracy, you know, the will of the people is not the best. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to go any further than that. But if you will pardon me, I have to mute for a few minutes and I'll come back, if that's okay.
Well, we have to just go ahead. I will start by saying that, yeah, democracy, as you say, we're not talking politics. We're just discussing the process, the concept, the idea that there's something for which the majority have to make sure that they consider the minority as part and parcel of that community, because the minority and the majority have to be able to come together to make it work. Democracy cannot exist only for those who are on top, or there'll be chaos, of course. So, Dr. Crossley, I know you are always here with us. Please, if you can unmute, you would be able to tell us what you think about democracy in your own right and in your own part of the world where you live. Even though you may be living in the United States, the area, the city in which you live may not be democratic. I hope not. Well, so please, Dr. Crossley, the ball is in your court. Play it the best you can.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you, Professor Niason and Ms. McCormick, and globally to everyone who's watching on YouTube and Facebook and who will be watching the replay. Thanks so much for this opportunity again. I would say democracy was, when I was first introduced to it, obviously was by my grandmother, you know, my parents, because I would hear them talk about, you know, the current affairs for the nation. Back in those days when I was a little girl, 60-something years ago, it was a very different environment then than it is now. I think democracy, if a person isn't directly involved in it, it'll mean something different for that person. And then being taught it in school, obviously Professor Niasan, will attest to this. It depends on who's teaching it and what they're teaching. Um, and the same thing goes like around the dinner table. My mom, who had to exercise her civil rights and taking her case all the way to the Supreme Court, winning her landmark Supreme Court decision that affects the way America does hiring of employees to make it equal access. That right has never been challenged, thank God. And it has always been a right, but my mom had to have it enforced and recognized. And that's what I think Dr. Martin Luther King was doing. Not necessarily trying to tell people, oh, change this law. It was already the law, to treat everybody equal, but it just was not happening. And ultimately, he gave his life believing in everyone should have equal access to housing, equal access to voting. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it.
Please don't. Just continue to share your ideas. Thank you.
And then, well, yeah, people are still today, in my mom's book that I wrote, her last words in her book on civil rights is the struggle still continues even to this moment, and we still have to fight for our rights. I've worked for LAPD, I worked for Los Angeles Police Department, and I just want to say that I left there because it was just too much crime. It was too much Black on Black crime. So when I think of my experience as opposed to how someone on the outside is looking in experience, it's obviously we're going to see two different pictures. And then I went on to work for the governor. I worked for 4 different governors, just that long length of time. And I saw democracy from, like, sometimes it would be a Democrat governor and sometimes it would be a Republican governor. And their administrations ran differently because they had different mindsets. So for example, one of my tasks were to exercise the citizens' democracy. So when the legislators would create a bill or have to vote on it, it required the signatures from the Democrat side and the Republican side. So when I would take the document to get the signature from the majority Democrat leader, they were more upset than when I would go and get the Republican majority leader signatures. In fact, the Democrats, no offense to anybody, but they would, tell me, and they would tell me to use profanity to the Republicans and deliver a message. So, and I was just like, wow, why can't we all just get along? Obviously, I'm not going to use profanity, but I, out of just being jolly and happy, would tell each side what the other one were saying. But for me, the rubber met the road when I met Mayor Tashina A. Cross. I learned about democracy from her experience in Maryland. And I would hang out with her like on a daily basis, and I would just listen to her. And I learned a whole lot. And so at one of her community engagement events, she asked the citizens questions about like how many council seats are there, and I raised my hand. I said 7. And so I won all these prizes because I knew all the answers to her democracy questions. And I'll never forget that. I would not have learned unless someone would have taught me. How else is somebody going to learn anything unless they're taught? You know, God even says in his word, how is a person going to hear unless someone preaches? So I thank Mayor Cross for being a living legend, and I hope she listens to this replay. If not, I'll reach out to her and let her know. I did speak to her the other day, and I did tell her exactly what I am saying now. And she's also a veteran and served our country, and she is an amazing person. So as far as democracy, I got to hang out with the real majority speaker of the House, um, Steve Scalise. I got to hang out with Mike Johnson, and these people that I would see on TV that are make laws for the whole nation, and hung out with the Attorney General. I've been hanging out with the lieutenant governors. I have pictures with my governor. I used to hang out with your governor, Professor Niasan, with Mayor Cross and I. And he would tell me to move to Maryland. And we would just laugh. We all just thought that was real cute and real funny. Because, but he was serious. Yeah, so I hang out on your side as well, Professor Niasan, hanging out with all of your leaders over there, and that's all because of Mayor Cross. She reached across. I know it's almost going on 30 minutes. I'm still talking. I apologize, but
Go ahead.
this is the last thing I'm going to say about Mayor Cross. She reached across the waters. She reached across the land. She reached across the Potomac and has been a friend to all of us, the whole nation. And she, like I said, fought for a country that she believes in democracy. And it's because of her. It's because of my mom. It's because of Martin Luther King. It's because of my experiences that I love America. Thank you.
So before you stop talking, please just answer this quick question. What does democracy mean to you as a person, as an individual?
People.
To you as an individual, yes.
Oh yeah, that's my answer. People.
Oh,
we
people.
Can't.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't. It's going to be our experiences.
Yes. Okay. And I'm going to turn to our sister Debbie now. I know she's on. If she can unmute and to tell us her own bit about democracy. What does it mean to you as an individual, and how have you seen it practiced in some areas where you've lived or where you've visited? Sister Debbie?
She's muted.
Yeah, she's muted. So, as far as I know, democracy is not something that started yesterday, started in the 4th century BC. That's a long, long time ago. And those who practiced it at that time believed strongly that there are laid down rules that everybody accepts, and everybody ensures that they respect and listen and follow, because without those rules and regulations, it will be chaos, and we don't want chaos anywhere around us. So it is a government of the people, yes, but there should be some equality, not just some, but there should be equality where my ideas are as good as yours. You accept me and I accept you. So the word tolerance comes in here in democracy. A democracy without tolerance is just another case of chaos, as I keep saying, chaos. So please, whatever we are, wherever we live, let us know that democracy is a vital instrument that guides the way our societies function. I know India is one of the largest democracy, well, the most populated democracy. The United States is the largest democracy, but India has the greatest number of people, billions of people, and they have the largest, I mean, the elections go for like a month because they have to make sure
wow.
the people vote according to their states and so on until they finally emerge with the last final result and they proclaim their president and or prime minister, as they call it out there. I don't know if they've changed the terminology, but democracy is something that is available to you and I for us to use as a way of guiding ourselves the way we live. And that is why there is a need for what they call a constitution. A constitution is just the body of rules and regulations that we put together, we agree on to guide us live in our community. In your tribal meeting, there's a constitution. In your state or in your country of origin, if you are not from the United States, there are constitutions, even if those constitutions are very often and regularly changed by those who are at the top. But that is not the way democracy wants it to be. Democracy expects that the people be consulted at regular intervals so that they participate by their vote, because the power of every citizen in a democracy is the vote, the ballot paper. You go and cast it. If you cast it wrongly, you mess it up. If you cast it rightly, you prosper in it and you live according to the terms of what it is. So please, let us see who else is there to say something. I don't see anybody else. Reverend Pam, do you want to chime in with any idea that you have about democracy?
Yeah. Well, my question would be, what are the advantages and disadvantages of democracy? Because, you know, one of the disadvantages I see is that somebody who has money can canvass support from the majority of the people, and then the minority voice will not be heard. So what do you think? I'm opening up to both of you. And I don't know if Debbie is Debbie, can you unmute and speak? So I'll open that question to you, Niasong, and Dr. Crossley, and then I'll be back.
Well, from my own personal understanding, from the word go, money was no part of democracy. Being rich does not make you a good leader or a good member of the community. So we all have to accept one another. That is why I said the word tolerance is very, very necessary. So money instead spoils the democratic process, because if you buy the votes, if you buy the people's minds and way of thinking, they cease to be people participating in a democracy. They are listening for, looking up now to what they call an autocrat, somebody who is rich, somebody who can buy your vote, somebody who can give you bread and sardine today, so tomorrow you have to vote for him and only him, because you think that the other people, because they didn't give you bread and sardine, they're not as good as the other people. So one of the things that we should take note of is that democracy requires fair play, a level playing field for everybody. It should not be something that millions are pumped in just to buy the vote, because when you do that, you're buying the people's consciences and it becomes a different thing. They're thinking only the way you think. They're only, everything else is about you, and they don't care whatever is going on around them. They believe that the leader is always right. This is what I saw in Animal Farm, George Orwell's famous book.
Sorry, Niasong, excuse me for a second. I have to take an urgent call from Africa.
Sure,
I have to step away. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that being said, please, democracy is not something to play with. It is something to be taken seriously, and for all of us to accept the fact that we are members of this group and we belong to this group, we belong in this group, and we should all together contribute our quota in ideas, because education is very important in democracy. If you're not educated about the choices you have to make, then you end up making the wrong choice, and that will not help you live your life the best way you wanted to live it. So education is very important. And when they say election campaign, that is supposed to be sessions of education, periods when you educate the people about what you have to offer. What are you offering as a candidate for election? What are you offering as a future citizen or as a future leader? So people should be able to understand what they stand for and what their leaders stand for, and how do we marry the two ideas, leader and citizen, or leader and follower, and be able to make the going as good for everyone as possible. Dr. Crossley, I know you're unmuted. What else have you to tell us? Please go right ahead. Don't
Well, Professor Nielsen, you covered it all, sir. You know, you're right. Everything you just said. Education, you know, people have a voice in democracy. That's an advantage. Freedom of speech, another advantage you pointed out. The protection of rights. You know, democracy is to protect individual rights like freedom and equality, as you mentioned, which helps everyone feel safe and valued. The disadvantages of democracy is that it takes time to make decisions because everyone gets a say. It can take a long time to make decisions, especially on the big issues. Another disadvantage of democracy is, as you said, it's a risk of having a bad leader. Sometimes people may vote for leaders who don't do a good job, which can harm the country. Finally, another disadvantage of democracy is its influence on popularity. We just said that decisions sometimes can be based on more on popularity than what's really best for everyone, which might lead to unfair or short-sighted choices. So democracy, as I stated, is about people. Everybody having their fair say, because you can't have a democracy without people. Obviously, then a person has the opposite, the alternative to democracy. But it also comes with challenges like taking time to make good decisions and needing really good leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We must understand as we go along that states that practice democratic or that have democratic governments do so because they believe that having an autocrat or some dictator ahead of you, leading you, will instead bring chaos, instead bring you problems. So it is very important that every voice be heard, that every person be listened to before decisions are taken. So we guarantee fundamental rights for everybody. We make sure that people are living and following the rules that are laid down in the Constitution, or call them bylaws, so that everybody knows that we have to walk the same path, going the same direction, hoping that the final product of our interacting together will yield better fruits for everybody. Equality. That is very important, because if we do not at least pretend to be equal to one another, we will fail in our project. We have to build our community based on that project, those bylaws that we have put together. Democracy cannot exist if the leader is the one to decide every single thing that we have to do. He has to consult the people. What do? We need a road here. Should we do it? Is it right? Well, if you're going to pull up my house, I would certainly say no. If you are going to block the water from flowing through the river from flowing through that path, I would say no. If you want to deviate the water to flow to another side of the town, I would say no, because you may be inundating other people's property, or you may be damaging other people's property. So please let nature exist, and we coexist with this, so that together we can make things better for all of us. Reverend Crossley, I know you are still there. We're just two of us at the moment. Reverend Palm stepped away, so please, if you have more ideas to share, just go ahead. Let's keep going.
Sure. So, as you alluded to, Professor Nielsen, what can we do if we have a bad leader in a democracy? We have options, sir.
We vote him out. I'm sorry, we vote him out at the next election.
Yes, sir. We vote for change in the next election.
Yes.
Voting is one of the strongest ways to bring about change. We can speak up. We can share our concerns by writing letters, speaking to our representatives, or joining a peaceful protest.
Yes.
One of my young neighbors, she was a young girl, and she thought lemonade was the answer. She was like, let's just make some lemonade. That was her solution for everything, was lemonade. Okay. Some other people, they're like, they like to have get-togethers, like picnics and hot dogs. That's the American, used to be the American way. Hot dogs and baseball. Doing activities that bring us together. Staying informed, learning about the issues and helping others understand those issues. Like you said, being educated, holding the leaders accountable. I know at our HOA, those people where I live, they are very serious about where our community. I was judging a beauty pageant. That is democracy, freedom for people to choose, what they want to participate in. It's freedom of expression. So I learned a lot. Those people are real serious about those pageants, and held me accountable as a judge. So in short, we can use our voices, vote, take action, and help make sure that we have good leaders who will listen and who will care. Thank you.
Thank you too. And talking about that, it is very important to be sure that we participate. You don't participate in silence. See it, talk about it without necessarily pointing fingers. Just say that this rule that we're putting together will not serve its purpose tomorrow. So let us change it, let us amend it, let us make sure that the rules we're putting in our guideline or in our guiding principle are the right rules that will help us to get to the destination that we want. And that destination is a democratic society wherein you have that respect for each individual. You have that respect for every opinion because every opinion matters. It is not only those who are at the top of the ladder that should tell you what is necessary. So we need laws, we need policies, we need leadership, and we need major understandings of one another so that together we can move the society, our society that is, forward, rather than depending on somebody who will instead tell you that dance to the right, whereas it would have been better to dance to the left. So follow the rhythm by making sure that you listen to the music, understand the music, and move the steps as required by maybe the leader who is conducting the orchestra. If the conductor is telling you to go right and you are going left, you'll be bumping into somebody else or falling off from the stage. So please, democracy requires discipline. It requires honesty. It requires every good part of you to be sure to succeed. Because if you don't, it will not be what we want to have. So there is no need to say, oh, democracy is only good for the rich or it's not good enough for the poor. We are all in it together, and together we should work together. I mean, we should move forward to ensure that what we aspire to achieve is achieved. That is what I can say at the moment. While waiting for anybody else to zoom in, please, and give us their ideas, their thinking about democracy. Is democracy just a concept? Is democracy just something that cannot be achieved? It has been achieved for many years, since the 4th century BC. And of course, we can also make it. We have to improve it anyway. There are pitfalls. So we have to make sure we fill those potholes and prevent those pitfalls, because if we don't, we will be falling into them, and that would not be good for us. Yes, Dr. Crossley.
Right, Professor Nielsen. So we don't know what a future leader is actually going to do because, again, we know it's a process. All we can do is what we can, and that's in our reach, which we've discussed. So for people who don't have a voice, like say people who are disabled or people who don't understand democracy, we have leaders like Mayor Cross that can help them. That's why we vote in leaders to speak on behalf of the people who can't speak. So, but for those people, all hope is not lost. They can still join groups, like say a person disability, they can join a support group within their interest or their challenge. They can write letters or have someone write letters for them, like to the media or social media, to voice their concerns, or ask their representatives, that their elected officials, to speak on their behalf, trusted elected officials, trusted friends, or community leaders, such as us. So that's one way of how the voiceless can still practice democracy. A way that we can continue to forge ahead and ensure that we have democracy is to continue to fight. It wouldn't be called democracy if someone was not a threat to it or to try to take it away. So we don't take it for granted. We never have. We've always fought. It's always been a challenge. It's always been a struggle. So we can keep working to a common good and speak up and share our thoughts and listen to other people's thoughts. We can volunteer and help out with the causes that we care about, that are near and dear to our hearts and that we're passionate about. We can encourage others, as we're doing here today, to participate so that we can all make an even bigger impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, democracy is not something that starts and ends at the moment. It's something that is ongoing. So democracy is an ongoing process that is perfected as we go along. The shortcomings come, we identify them, we address them, and we move on with the better result, rather than thinking that we have only to stop with what we inherited 20, 40, 100 years ago. No, democracy is an ongoing process that is perfected with the times. The times change, the ideas change, the thinking changes, but mindsets have to adapt to the reality of the moment. So please, we need a change of mentality. We need a change of our way of thinking, so as to be able to arrive at that perfect existence that we seek for our community. Democracy is not something that is only for some people. It's not something that is only for the wealthy or only for the poor. No, democracy is for everyone in that community. And that being said, it is not something for adults only. It's not something for men only. It's not something for only a particular group of people. It is for everyone. And everyone has to make sure that their voice is heard. Because as we have been saying, if you see it and you don't say it, then you are not helping in the building of that union. You're not helping in the construction of that community of perfect people. There are no perfect beings, yes, but we must be able to do it the way we believe will help everybody live and feel better. That is why equality is very important. That is why equity is very important. That is why you don't have to discriminate. Discrimination should be out of the question. And of course, whatever you do that hurts another person should not be practiced, should not be adopted. We must always make sure that we look at the other person. How do these laws affect that person or that community or that group of people? Are the women as favored in this process as the men? As the men as favored or better, more favored than the women? No, we have to seek equality. That is why it is very important that when we practice in the democratic way, we make sure that everyone is treated accordingly. In fact, it is very important for us to make sure that we don't favor anybody. So there should be no favors. There should be no favors, because the Athenians, when they adopted this in their city, when they practiced democracy in their cities in the good old days, they never favored some people. They made sure that everyone who was in the group benefited equally, benefited as much as the other people did. So equality is very important. Fairness is very important. And of course, understanding is very, very important. We must not neglect some and favor others. We must not give it up to others and take it away from some. It happens these days. Our democratic process has its pitfalls, but we must seek to address those pitfalls every day. It is a continuing process, as we say. So please, whatever we do, whatever we say, let our yes be yes and our no be no, because we have to seek to satisfy all the members of the society. It never has happened, but it always gets close to it. We try to make sure that the political system we adopt helps as many people in the community as possible. It is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, but it should also not leave out anyone. Whatever we do, whatever we say, make sure you join the train and make sure your voice is heard. If you don't let your voice be heard, then you are instead creating more problems than you are solving. That being said, I don't have anything personal to add to this, but just to continue to hammer the point that democracy is a system and something that involves everybody. We have to work together to make sure that we succeed in all what we are striving to achieve in our community. 4th century BC, we're in the 21st century. Many centuries have gone by. Democracy has not faltered, has not failed, except in those communities where those who are put in front as leaders sit back and decide that they will change the rules and regulations as exist in our laid down, what we call constitutions. Because I know that especially in some so-called third world countries, some leaders wake up in the morning and decide that they are signing this decree to favor them, so that as long as they're in power, you cannot point a finger at whatever they are doing wrong, even embezzling the money that the taxpayers pay for you to realize projects, for you to make sure that the projects, the development projects in that community are realized. So please, whatever we do, let us hold leaders accountable. Let us make sure that if they fail us tomorrow because we elected them today, let us make sure that the next day we don't elect the same people. Whatever they do, they will give you bread and sardine, but that is not enough. They will give you $1 million to go and vote for this or that, but that is not the way democracy works. Democracy has never been used, it's not subject to money. You don't have to have money to be a Democrat. You don't have to have money to practice democratic processes. You don't have to have money to live in your community and be an equal partner in the realization of the things that will make life go round for all and everyone in that community. That being said, Reverend Pam, are you back with us? She's not yet back. She's responding.
I'm actually responding to something important.
Yeah, I understood when you said you were answering a call from Africa. So go ahead. Yeah, Dr. Crosland.
Oh, I was just going to give you kudos again, Professor Nielsen. I know you, you're a professor. So you're right. So we don't want those type of leaders, right? And so what we can do, like you said, is continue to practice democracy, even in the face of danger like that, even when we do find out we have a leader that sold us out, right? So we can still volunteer for causes, still continue to volunteer like on local projects, join organizations that show people that we care. I know there are some negative organizations and there are some positive ones. So we want to focus on those positive ones, the ones that support fairness, the ones that support and encourage kindness. I know sometimes people are like, don't know which side to be on. So hopefully them listening to this broadcast will help them make the right decisions to get involved with what's fair and what is kind, so that we can respect each other, treat each other with acts of kindness, so that our communities can be a better place. That is what democracy looks like. When we see people volunteering in our community, that's what democracy could look like helping out at a community center, joining a neighborhood cleanup team. That's what democracy looks like. Working together, listening to each other's ideas, sharing. Like I like those, like long time ago at work, they used to have, they don't do it anymore because of people's nut allergies, but we used to have those diversity potlucks when everyone would bring a meal that is specific to their country or their tradition. So that's when we celebrate each other's differences. That is, for me, democracy. So yeah, we could organize like food drives to help people, assist at voting stations. We can even join like school boards and try to get elected and try to improve the community and make good decisions. I don't think it's hard to make good decisions. So Professor Niasan, I don't know if you want to elaborate on those bad leaders that make bad decisions. Thank you.
Well, bad leaders that make bad decisions, my only suggestion, my only idea is vote them out the next time around, except they completely hijack the system and say no more elections. But as long as the elections are held, don't vote them in the next time around. Give them the spanking of their life so that they know that what they did yesterday was not good enough for today and for tomorrow. Because if you don't give them that spanking, you end up having them with you for another lifetime. Maybe I don't know what is a lifetime, or another period of time that you are not comfortable, that you are not able to enjoy anything in that community. If projects are put in place and money is voted for those projects, and those leaders do not use the money for those projects, vote them out. Tell them, well, we voted for this road, we have not seen it. We voted for this electricity project, we have not seen it. Or you install something that is faulty every time. They switch on the lights and they go off the next minute. That is not the way it functions. Democracy should give everybody a chance, should be something that helps everyone realize their dream, live their dreams, and succeed the way they ought to succeed. Because we are all here as a team, not as I. It's not a question of I. There's no I in democracy. I see the word, I don't see a letter I in that word. So there's nothing like I. It should be we. I see an E there, which is part of, if you want to write we. Yes, democracy is something for us, not for some. It is for everyone in that community. Children, women, men, adults, teenagers, youngsters, everybody else in that community is a member. So please let us not look for an aristocracy or a government by only the best. No, there are no best. We are all good as we are in our respective domains. We should not wait for an oligarchy that is a government of the few, where only a select few become the leaders. No, we should open it up for everyone else so that together we build that community, that society that is for the people, by the people, and with the people. Because if we don't do that, we will be failing the founding fathers of this thing we call democracy. Yes, it is not good in some communities, no doubt. That's what some governments in some countries believe. They think that democracy is only good for certain parts of the world. No, it depends on the people, their mentalities, their ways of looking at things, because democracy can survive and triumph everywhere. It is not something that is only for certain climates. It is not something that is only good for some vegetations. Democracy is a process that can function and thrive in almost every country. In every country, actually, I should not contradict myself. It's something that can thrive in every country, every part of the world. Even if you are living in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, democracy, if it reaches there, it will thrive, it will survive, it will succeed. So please let us work for it. Let us not give up. Let us know that together we can make democracy and democratic institutions survive and live as they have done for the past several decades, several centuries, actually, not decades. So please, that being said, we will be, oh, I can't stream the anthem. Yeah, I don't have that possibility. I would have, we're getting to the top of the hour.
No. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and
Okay.
then we'll round up the show.
Yeah. Okay, please. Yes. So
Yeah,
that
if you want to take the last word, then we have 4 more minutes. Take the last word, and then I'll stream the anthem.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is for everyone, especially you, Professor Nielsen. This is going to be a tough one. Now, when I went to Jamaica, I think it was, yes, the people revolted, okay? So, and I guess people were saying on January 6th, it was a revolt. I don't know. But what do we do when people when they're unhappy and they act out? What do we do when the people are not peaceful? They go beyond protesting. What do we do for that? Thank you.
That is the problem, because if people act out and start destroying property and start being violent to one another, then we're no longer practicing democracy. We have to calm spirits. There must be some saint in the group who will bring in that saintly way of thinking to help people change their mindsets, to help people change their ways of thinking, so that together we calm down, take a deep breath, have a sip of water, and sit down and say, oh, this is where we went wrong. Can we together make this work? Because if we agree to let it work, it will work. Don't let the extremists in your group take the upper hand and shout you down. Don't let yourself be shouted down. Always make sure that you endeavor as calmly as you can to bring some sanity in that group, whatever they do. You go violent, we go peaceful, we meet you in the middle, and we say, please, can we sit down and talk? Yes, because even in the Bible, I think the book of Isaiah tells us that, come, let us reason together. So if we don't reason together, we will not achieve our goal. And reasoning together does not mean that you shout at me because you have a bigger voice or because you have a bigger tone, but just listen to me. First of all, it is not the the wind that builds. It is the breeze, that gentle breeze, wafting softly across your face. Go back to the Bible. The prophets waited, and when the wind, the breeze wafted through, he realized that his presence was there. And in the burning bush, it was not like the wildfires we see in California. No, the burning bush was just a spot shining brightly that Moses thought was a fire. So it is when you understand that that is where peace is. The word peace is very important. It is peace that builds, not fire. So please, whatever we do, let us face the devil with calmness and with thought out ideas to tell the devil, please sit down, take a deep breath, have a sip of water. Can we now talk? And then
no, we're not negotiating with the devil. He doesn't need to drink any water. He doesn't have access to water.
Well, thank you very much for that.
No, we're not that nice.
We're not negotiating. Yeah, that's right.
And we don't need to please him. He needs to please us. That's right. And we don't need to give him water. He doesn't have access to water.
That's right.
Okay, so let me play the anthem.
Yes. And you will announce the other topic, please, for next week.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear it?
No, it's buffering, but not playing.
It's not playing?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Just stand still.
Hold on.
Yes.
I did share the sound. Hold on. Oh, okay, wait, hold on. I didn't complete the process. Hold on. These people have changed a lot of stuff on their Zooms. Can you hear now?
Yeah. It's playing now.
Oh no.
Okay.
Africans, Africans for Africa. 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 Africans have many bright ideas. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people, with so many cultures, yet indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africa Online Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does. To identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Education for everyone. If we believe prosperity for Africans, if we believe medical facilitation for Africans, if we believe stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Jump on the Africa Online Miracle Jet. Don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed. Together we will win. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. We are writing our own story, the truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies. Africa.
No more lies. Africans own Africa. Next week, we're going to be talking farming in Africa. We're going to have an amazing young man that relocated to Ghana and started farming. His background is way, way more than farming, but he started farming as a solution to a problem he noticed in his community. So talk about impact. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And
Farming in Africa.
yes. And that's the name of his company, Farming in Africa. So he will be here next Sunday. And we also have our sister organizations, the 5th annual summit of the Africa's Brain Bank Charity Ball and summit will be in Lagos, in Victoria Island at the Lagos Continental Hotel, December 5th through the 9th. You know, the tickets are available at africasbrainbank.org. I'm going to put the link on the chat box. And we continue to try to raise funds for the borehole, but we've not had any donations coming. So we need somebody who can help us get grants so we can put these boreholes in Kenya and Cameroon before continuing to the other countries. We have one in Sierra Leone that we sunk during the pandemic, 2021. It is servicing more than 30,000 people. And the clinic, of course, plus a solar, the borehole is solar powered. And so we have electricity in the maternity because of the solar that was installed to pump the water. So they don't have to depend on the grid. So for that donation, you can go to africaonlinetv.org. Nielsen, over to you.
Merci, madame. S'il vous plaît, nous vous prions chaque jour, chaque semaine, de nous aider à construire des adductions d'eau potable dans le continent africain. On a commencé au Sierra Leone, ça fait déjà quelques années, ça fonctionne, ça a même un système électrique, vu les panneaux électriques qu'on a installés. Donc, bien vouloir nous aider, bien vouloir venir vers nous, donner-nous un peu de sous pour qu'on puisse continuer à creuser des points d'eau adaptables dans le continent africain. Maintenant, on vise le Cameroun et le Kenya parce que, bon, c'est absolument nécessaire parce qu'on ne peut pas continuer à laisser les enfants aller tôt le matin pour chercher de l'eau ou tard la nuit pour chercher de l'eau parce que l'eau, c'est la vie. C'est très, très important que nous donnons un peu de sous pour qu'on continue à construire ces adductions d'eau potable. Et le 5 au 9 décembre prochain, le mois prochain déjà, il y a cette fête, Africa's Brain Bank organise à Lagos, au Nigeria. Donc, bien vouloir participer, va sur notre site web, tout est là. S'il vous plaît, nous vous prions. Merci beaucoup et à bientôt. On continue l'émission. So, can we go ahead now?
With the final thought, the last word.
Yes. So, Dr. Crosslin, your last thought on this topic, democracy, as we wrap up for today.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, and everyone. Again, you know, Dr. Pam Fomanung, thank you so much for this platform. Professor Nielsen, thank you for teaching me a lot today. I learned a lot. Hopefully you won't give me a test on it, but thank you so much.
Yes.
So in democracy, people have the power to make a difference. I learned all of this seriously from Professor Nielsen. They do this by voting, sharing their ideas, and working together to solve problems. And if people feel ignored, they can speak up in big ways like protests and even revolts, but they need a permit. They need to remember to get a permit, and then they need to educate, like Professor Nielsen said, the rest of their team to stay calm. And then democracy works best when everyone does have a chance to be heard and when leaders listen to the people. But like Professor Nielsen said, it has to be done in peaceful ways, like voting and talking to leaders, because this is how changes can come about, and it will help to, in the process, make the community, keep the community strong, And just like I learned from the little neighbor of mine from many, many years ago, like Professor Nielsen said, breathe, have some lemonade, and everybody listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Pam. You have your last word.
Well, I just say we even though democracy seems to be a more appealing form of government or process, it's not always the best in every situation. So we just have to keep praying, you know, for our people around the globe, for the different nations to learn to practice true democracy. And that majority is not always better, you know, and for those people who are in democratic countries who are minorities, that God will continue to protect them and make ways for their voices to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, dear people, we appreciate your participation. Please, democracy is not something for some people. It is something for everybody. Have your voice heard. Please be a participant, not a watcher. Thank you very much. And we will see you next Sunday. It will be the 17th of November. Thank you and bye for now.
Have a blessed week.
Thanks.